I'm Kay Davis. I've been with the university for 35 years. And I was talking with the group I was teaching with all day today that when Dean Majidi came by, he and we were hired about the same time. And so we've both been around a long time. And so lots of history. Part of my background, I'm an EDD, very proud of my EDD. And I also teach some in the PhD program. I have a clear understanding of the value of both the PhD and the EDD, but I'm going to be one of those people that if you need that reassurance that there's value in your EDD, there's plenty of value in that. So it's about the application of research versus in PhD, it's more that theoretical building. I teach research courses. I teach qualitative research, quantitative research, statistics, mixed methods, non-human subjects. I'm a researcher in that my goal here at Pepperdine is to help you guys get out of here with a doctoral degree to finish, right? So part of my role the last 10 years has been to kind of direct and put together resources to support you through the dissertation process. So I'm a full-time faculty. I chair a lot of dissertations because I like it. And I'm also the person that puts together a lot of the resources. And if you have questions, you can't get them answered, you can always send me an email and I can help you. Okay, so, and I apologize, I'm a little tired. I've been teaching since early this morning. So anyway, I'm as tired as you are. Okay. So the dissertation process, think of it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate your ability to bridge theory and practice. It's scholarly work, so it's different than what some of you might do in the practice environment. Some of you practice perhaps doing research where you work. The difference here, this is a scholarly endeavor. It's going to be published in the scholarly literature. So everyone, whether you're EDD or PhD, you're going to choose the problem area. That's your choice. And as I've said to many of you, it's a good news, bad news story. You can do whatever you want. That's good news, but that's also the bad news because you got to make choices. So you're going to be deciding on a problem. And then from that problem, you'll have a specific research purpose. And methods are different. Qualitative methods, quantitative methods, mixed methods, non-human subjects research. You can choose from all of those. And again, it's a good news, bad news. So it means you need to understand your options. And you're in the first year of your doctoral programs. So give yourself a break. You don't know what your dissertation's going to be yet. You might have an idea of the issue you want to study, but this is not the time to worry, what am I going to do? How I'm going to do it? Who's going to be my committee? So I just want to keep reinforcing, it's okay. Learn, pay attention to the literature, read, think, talk to faculty. But now is not the time that you have to put that stake in the ground and say, this will be the purpose of my research. Choose an issue. We use a 3-member committee at Pepperdine. Your chair leads that committee. So Dr. Sparks chairs all of the faculty you've met here today. We serve in that role as a chair. We have a list of faculty that are endorsed to chair. Now, why do we do that? Because we want to be sure that your chair knows our system to help you get through. So you might have a wonderful colleague someplace and you think, oh, they would be great. They're not going to be your chair unless they're experienced with us. So that's why there's a list of endorsed chairs. I think there's 42 names on that list. So again, you've only met 3 or 4 so far. but there's 42 people that have endorsement. It's with your chairperson that you form your committee. So that's the other thing you don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about getting a committee. When I'm talking to second year students, we're trying to say, okay, let's link you up with a chairperson. And then once you have a chair and you design that research with your chair, that chair helps you get the other committee members. The chair has a responsibility of making sure you have the right resources on your committee. That's part of their responsibility. So you don't go to faculty and say, will you be on my committee?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. If you were to come to me and say, will you be on my committee? I'd say, who's your chair? And you say, well, I don't have a chair yet. Well, the first thing you got to do is have a chair. So that's where you start. Your chairperson mentors you, your chairperson supports you. When you actually register in 791 varies, and I'll show you a slide in a minute on that. But again, the chairperson is the main person that you're linked to. Our dissertation research courses are 791. So you haven't seen them yet on your program of study. If you wanted to get your program of study from your advisor, you'll see that starting, I think, in the end of the second year for EDD, beginning of the third year for PhD, you'll start seeing 791 on there. That means you're eligible to register for 791. And to register for 791, you have to have a chair. So again, you're registering in 791 section with your particular chairperson. Every chairperson functions a little differently. Some have small groups, some do one-on-one. We also have 2 group processes where there's meetings and supports and templates, but about 70% of all of our dissertation students have individual chair. They work individually. So Paul has a group of students and he probably meets with each of them separately, sometimes in groups, Dr. June, Dr. Amanda, everybody does it a little different. So one of the key things when you're selecting a chair, it's got to be somebody you get along with. It's got to be somebody that you have good communication skills with. Your chair does not need to have expertise in your topic area, but your chair will make sure someone on your committee has that expertise. So where I think some people think they need to, and I apologize, my back on these people. Some people think their chair has to know their topic. Nope, the chair is going to be, the most important is that relationship, that you have that type of, you've established a way to communicate and trust and interact. And yes, someone on your committee will have content expertise, but it doesn't have to be your chair. Same thing in terms of design, methods. If you want to do quantitative research, you don't have, your chair doesn't have to be the quantitative researcher. They have to be comfortable with it, but they'll make sure you have somebody on your committee that meets that. That kind of makes sense on that? Okay, so this is the process simply. This is where you guys are. Over here, you're off the chart. Right?
Yeah, it's like right today.
But for those of you who want to feel, have that need to feel like you're doing something, you're in the literature. So you're working on your dissertation because you're learning from the literature. You just keep telling yourself that, right? This is what you do in the first year of your doctoral work. Is you're in the literature, you're getting exposed to content, you're reading new things. And so that literature review process will lead you to where you can develop your proposal. And once you've got a chairperson, the chairperson helps you develop the proposal. You don't have a full proposal before you go to the chair. So the chair is going to help you design your research in a credible way that will lead to a study that's internally valid. But yes, start with the literature review. We then have a preliminary oral. That's when you present your proposal formally to the academic community. Then you implement your study. Then you prepare your findings. Then you have a final defense and then completion. Makes it look simple. Let me show you what makes it more complicated. Has to do with registration. It has to do with requirements and policies. We require that you're in 791 3 terms, a minimum of 3 terms. Most of our EDD and PhD students take 4 or 5 terms to complete the full process. It's possible to do it in 3 terms, but it depends upon if you're also overlapping it with all your other courses, right? So it gets to that place of when you start officially in 791, you have to really be realistic. Do you have the bandwidth? You still got 3 courses. Do you have the bandwidth to add another 6 to 8 to 10 hours a week to work on dissertation? And can you afford to pay for 2 more units of tuition? So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to, well, when should I technically start? And the reality is you still got courses to do. And so your degree is a curriculum with the dissertation. You can overlap, but again, you want to really get some good advice about how much you can do. Because I would imagine that 99% of you have full-time jobs, and you also have family, and you have maybe elder parents you're taking care of. So we just want to be sure you're realistic about your ability to do the work. So we look at it this way. Here's 2 orals for dissertation, that preliminary. It's a major milestone. You advance to doctoral candidate status. So some of you might have on your email, right now you say you're a doctoral candidate. You're not, you're a doctoral student.
Don't have it there either. It annoys people. They'll go
You're a doctoral student right now. The candidate label means something to the academic community. It means that your committee has approved your research and that you're almost done because it's approved. You're just implementing and writing it up. Versus that label some of you are familiar with, ABD, all but dissertation. It's not a good label. What that represents is that you stopped working on your dissertation. So right now you're a doctoral student. Once you advance to candidate status, you're a doctoral candidate. And then if you finish, you'll be a doctoral. But if you quit, that's when you become ABD, right? All but dissertation.
So people actually like.
They think,
No, right?
well, it's not a joke. Sometimes people think, they think, okay, I've finished my curriculum, so I have all but dissertation. But what it represents to the community is that you finished your curriculum, but you did not complete dissertation. So the label between course completion and degree completion is doctoral candidate. Now, we mention this because the reality across the country is that, what's your guess on what percentage of people don't complete their doctorates? It's high. It's that don't complete. 70 to 80% of US students do not complete. Now, the good news is that Pepperdine, what's our completion rate? or we'll stay on the same time. What's our non-completion rate? It's less than 20%. It's less than 20% non-completion.
Or
At it in Pepperdine, the only doctoral degrees right now are within Graduate School of Education and Psychology. We have the PsyD, we have the PhD, and we have the EDD. And non-completion is less than 20%. Nationally, if you look at all schools, non-completion approaches close to 70 to 80%. So that means we're doing a good job to support the students. We have resources, we have faculty. And if you talk to some of your colleagues that might have said, you know, I started my doctoral degree, but I didn't complete. One of the reasons a lot of people don't complete is because once you're out of coursework, you're detached. It's hard work. And so again, we have a very strong commitment to help you complete. And so if you're willing to do the work, we'll help you complete. So if you don't link up with a chairperson, you can still register. You get to me, I interview you, we talk, I find faculty that have room on their schedule. So if you're willing to do the work, we'll find you a chairperson. That's unusual in a lot of institutions because they're big departments. We're a small department, but we have over 200 students in dissertation right now. 200. That's a lot. 42 faculty that are committed to serving in the chair role, and we have resources. So you're in good hands is the point I want to make here, that we're committed to help you. All right. We have rules about when we do dissertation orals. They have to be during a term. They can't be during break. Our breaks are a couple of weeks at Christmas. We have a week break between the spring and the summer term. Then we're off in August, so you won't see orals during those times. How you get to graduation is you have your you file and have your final defense prior to graduation. Commencement, I should say, not graduation. Because you can go to commencement, you've had your final defense, but if your final defense was 2 days before the ceremony, chances are you've got revisions that need to be made to that document. So you're not graduated yet. You've had your defense, you've had approval, but you still have some things that happen after. We clear for APA style, we verify non-plagiarism. So there's steps that happen. The commencement right now, we do it once per year. Lots of discussions constantly, 34 years I've been here, about why don't we have multiple graduations? It's an expense issue, it's a big deal. The other problem is our commencement is on Malibu's calendar, not our calendar. So the date of commencement is the third week of the summer term. So it gets complicated on that. But right now you get, as Dr. Farzine would say, we have a party once per year. You go, you invite your family, and sometimes the people that are there, they're having a great time, but they know, oh my gosh, I still have modifications. I got to get in and I still be there, that kind of stuff. You have other people that finish their final defense in the fall. They got through all the final changes and they're really, really done. So commencement is different from degree completion. So where do you start for all of these? You can go to the student services, the community.pepperdine. There's all kinds of information about the dissertation process. Forms, resources, policies. You can click for education. So that gives you the basics. But we've created the Dissertation Success 2.0 site. And it's on this site where we've tried to build and give you more information. So these are the lessons, term agreements, process and policies, how the committee, how you develop your proposal, prelim. These are kind of in the order of things. Lots of information in there. So for those of you who want to learn more about the details, you can scroll through all of that. And can we go live by any chance? I want to show the calendar. So if you can bring up the calendar for dissertation, that shows all the dissertation orals that are occurring. I would suggest.
I'm not the K Davis, and I want to welcome.
Oh, stop. There we go. So, for example, when you're on the calendar, can you click on Joshua Gray over here?
Yay, Josh!
Click on Joshua, see what comes up. So it's giving you the date. You can see that it's Dr. Kent Rhodes, who's the chair. It's actually clicks. We're not going to do that, but you can click to his proposal. So if you want to see sample proposals, and you can attend these. And so if you want to get a feel for it, let's go to a final defense.
Choose Mitch tomorrow.
Click on Mitch. All right, now this is not good technology. I didn't check to see what's going to happen when I click on it. Is his announcement here? Let's click here to view Michael's announcement. Okay. Okay, so go back to the calendar. So the point is, for those of you who want to, you don't need to do it now, but as you're continuing, and go back to a couple months back, like to December. That's good. So look at all the orals that are happening. So this is available to you. Sometimes the actual link is there. Other times it says contact the faculty member. But our orals are open for you to see. Occasionally a faculty member will say, we're going to do the prelim without guests. The final defenses, though, are open. It's a final defense to the academic. Okay. So, on this, go ahead, Paul. On the site.
Yes, some folks don't like people at the defense, others. I've seen as many as 45 guests.
Yeah. And they're all virtual. We used to, pre-pandemic, we used to do them in person. So we didn't see so many guests. It also was more difficult to schedule because it was about driving across LA or being in LA. So now that we do virtuals, then it's a lot easier to schedule. Now, this also is on our site. And is there a link on the left panel to get to this? You want to go back to that first? So one of the things we're trying to do to help you learn more about all these faculty is we've invited the faculty to post. So you can see Dr. Millett. Many of you have never met him. He's got 3 minutes and 18 seconds worth of talking about him, what he's interested in doing. So you want to scroll down a few more. So you can see there's people here that you haven't met. We're working on getting all 42 people to participate. We've got some camera shy faculty. It's all very interesting. The whole process of, getting them to do this. There's some that aren't yet. They don't have a video, but they do have a bio and various things. So that information is available to you through the Dissertation Success Center.
And we're also going to be, or we have a lookbook. So some of our camera shy faculty, you'll also get a lookbook that has everybody that's endorsed. with their picture, their bio. So don't feel like just the ones that are up here. What you have is a full, beautiful list of amazing options for you. You're not getting that yet because this is just schema building, right? This is just a preview. But you will have access to that as well. So you can flip through everybody all at once. I shouldn't say flip, digitally flip.
So I want to leave time for some questions, but also in this PowerPoint, which will be posted, is what's in a proposal, a research proposal. 3 chapters, classically. Chapter 1, you're explaining the problem. Chapter 2, you're summarizing the literature of the theoretical framework for your study. So it's not all literature, it's for the theoretical framework of your study. Chapter 3 is methods and details about what goes in a chapter 1, details about how to organize a chapter 2, and then the details of the methods for chapter 3. So a common question that people come up with is they say, what about all the stuff I'm doing in my courses? Can that be in your dissertation? It's not likely. You're getting familiar with the literature about that, but what you're doing in your courses, you're writing particular assignments based upon, you know, if you're in leadership, it's something around leadership. If your dissertation has nothing to do with leadership, that wouldn't be relevant to put in your dissertation. So it's rare that you're going to pick up a paper and dump it into the dissertation manuscript. But if your dissertation is about leadership, you know that literature, you know what your resources are. But your target audience is very different. In your course, you're writing for a particular faculty. In your dissertation, you're writing toward, you're proposing a study. You're explaining the problem. You're choosing the theoretical framework. You're summarizing the body of knowledge for that framework. And then you have methods specific to your purpose. So that's why you need a chair to help you develop the proposal. No one's expecting, other than some students, that you're going to have a full proposal before you get a chair. A chair might say, if somebody approaches me or you approach Paul or Amanda, we're going to say to you, what do you want to study? You need to articulate what you want to study. And then we're going to work with you to help you design that study. So it's not that you wait till you have a full proposal and move that to a faculty. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, on that same question.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Howard.
Dr. Howard, nice to meet you.
Director of Cal Baptist University Public Administration. So my question is building upon existing research.
Yeah.
Within Pepperdine University. How is that facilitated?
Again, what you're building on, if you're thinking that, let me ask more specific what you're asking me. What specifically are you asking?
As far as the building upon existing research.
The idea in dissertation is you're contributing to the body of knowledge. So chapter 1 is the chapter where you make the arguments where the gaps in the literature are. And then why what you want to do contributes. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So it's not just doing a project. And if we take that label of master's degree, doctoral degree, master's, you master content. Doctoral level, you're contributing to the body of knowledge. You can't contribute without knowing what's out there in the body of knowledge. That's why you do a literature review. Thank you for making that point. Okay. And then a full dissertation manuscript has 5 chapters. So you still have a chapter 1, the problem. You still have the chapter 2. Your methods chapter has changed because you're no longer proposing your methods. You're describing the methods you used. And you might have made changes to chapter 1 and 2 based upon what happened in your preliminary oral. One of the faculty members said, you missed a key thinker in this area. Incorporate that in. The other reason you might change chapters 1 and 2 between prelim and defense. If you let 2 years go by, what happened to that literature? It needs to be updated. So the goal is that you have a strong proposal so that you can very efficiently move from candidate status, implement your study, collect your data, and write up your findings. If you give too much time, that literature keeps outdated. So your chapter 4 presents the findings, chapter 5 is where you're getting into study conclusions, recommendations, etc. All right. One of the databases in the library that you have access to is the Dissertation and Thesis Global. It's a ProQuest database. If you click on D, you'll get to it. If you click on ProQuest, you'll get to it. So if you want to see dissertations, there's 3 million of them there. And you can search by university if you want to see what Dr. Sparks has chaired. If you want to see some of his dissertations, you can search adding him in the advisor, and it will pull up all the dissertations he's chaired. So you can search by topic, but you can search by institution, you can search by advisor, which brings up why the committee is so important, and that our name is associated with the work that you're doing. So I know I have some students, where I'm saying, you've missed this. This interpretation is not quite there. You need to rewrite it again. And they don't like hearing that, but I remind them, this is going to go to your committee. I'm trying to help you not get shut down by your committee. And as a committee, we're approving your research, and our names are associated with your research. So it's not just the credibility of you, it's the credibility of the institution and the credibility of the advisors. And again, why you need to have an advisor that you trust and you have good communication with is key. Now, sometimes people start with an advisor, and after a while, it switches. There's nothing wrong with changing your chairs. Sometimes the chairs are open to that just as much as you are, right? It might not be as good a fit as people thought. So we do have a process where you can get another chair. And so your chair, it's a mutual decision between you and your faculty member. So anytime somebody contacts me and says, it's just not going well or this or that, I'm going to say, I can talk to your chair about it. And the reality is, yes, you can change, but you need to have a conversation with your chair about that. You don't just dump them and get somebody new. And again, if it's a struggle, I know I have some students that have just not making progress. I might be saying to them, look, I can't help you. Maybe you need to have somebody different that can help. All right. So when you're looking at dissertations, notice the issue, the theory, the purpose, the approach. These are all different things you can do. So right now, as first-year students, learn how to use the library, the electronic databases, learn how to use something like EndNote or Zotero or PaperPile. There's all these bibliographic software tools. Learn how to use those and start building your own electronic library. Learn how to use tags so that you're able later to sort your bibliographic. All of those things will help you not only for dissertation, but get through the qualifying exams, that's a whole nother topic. That's separate from dissertation. So lots you can do right now and make progress on your dissertation, but think of it as literature review is a process. I can start that now, but you're not going to start writing your proposal till you have a chair. Technically, you can register with a chair after you've had In the EDD either program, you've had your 3 research courses. Qualitative research, 767. Quantitative research, 766. Statistics, 734, I think it is. 3 research courses. In the PhD, you have an advanced statistics course, so you have a 4th required course. And again, you want to be reasonable about, can I add another 2-unit course into my schedule if I have 3 other courses that I'm doing? So you have time. You don't need to register in 791. I don't think any of you qualify yet to register in 7. All right. So let's take that down and see what questions you got. Was this helpful? Yes, sir. Can you introduce yourself too? Okay. Yeah.
Said I had to be affiliated with Pepperdine.
Yes.
Not person be outside.
No.
GSEP school.
Yes.
Okay.
Affiliated with Pepperdine. So anywhere in Pepperdine. And then you can have an outside person, and the requirements there, they have to have an earned doctorate, not a honorary doctorate. And your chairperson has to agree for the outside person. And how we make decisions about that is what is it that the outside person is contributing? In other words, maybe they're a content expert. We also would be cautious about if a student comes to me and says, well, I've got a colleague at work that would be a great addition. I'm going to say, what's your working relationship with that colleague? We would not want it to be your boss. And so we're very deliberate when you bring in an outside person, is how are they contributing to the committee? And the chair has to agree to that. Then it's screened just to make sure that there is a credential on file for that individual. We've had through the years, sometimes people think that they would put a spouse or an aunt or something. It's like, don't go there. It's just not a good idea. It's hard enough. Yeah. Sometimes people have a 4th member. You don't have to have a 4th member. And I would say if you want to have a 4th member, but just keep in mind, that's 1 more reader that has to sign off on what you're doing. It's 1 more person to coordinate into the scheduling patterns. So you don't have to have all the faculty at GSEP approve your dissertation. You have to have 3 faculty member sign off on it. So. Yes, sir.
Russ Jenkins,
Nice to meet you.
here. What's the pathway with EIP?
EIP is the same pathway. The difference is they have required sessions that you attend. They've got a predetermined committee of members. They require you to focus on best practices, appreciative inquiry as a theoretical framework. And you do qualitative work. You interview. Now, there's a version in EIP where they're getting into what's called the modified Delphi process. But EIP, Excellence Innovation Project, I think is what it originally started for. It's basically a structure, it's more structured. So that if you're a person that is comfortable with the theoretical framework they want you to follow, and you're comfortable with the methods they want you to use, and you're comfortable with the faculty team, then it can work. But it's no guarantee that you get done sooner. It's structured on a 3-term process, but I'll tell you that only about 50–60% of the students are able to do that in 3 terms. Most of them need that 4th term. We have another pathway non-human subjects that Dr. Amanda and I are starting, again, to try to provide more structure, more templates. But if you want to join that, you have to agree that Dr. Amanda and I are going to serve as your co-chairs and that you're going to do non-human subjects research. So the pathways that we're trying to build to support people through, same dissertation process. It's just again, if you join EIP or non-human subjects, you're agreeing to the methodology and the focus. For non-human subjects, you can study whatever you want, but your design is going to be a non-human subjects design. Versus if you go to an individual faculty member, I know I have some students doing non-human subjects. I have some students doing qualitative work. I have some students doing mixed methods work, variety of topics and issues. So that's the difference. It's the same requirements, same process. It's about, do you want to be part of a group and have that community or not? Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Let's say no. You mentioned it in the presentation. What I could consider higher.
Yes.
I will chair and maybe.
So IRB, Institutional Review Board at Pepperdine, we have two of them. We have the Graduate and Professional Schools IRB, where our students submit. Chair's responsibility is to help you get an IRB application. They have to sign off on it before it goes to the IRB. I have some of my colleagues that don't read those IRB applications very closely. They sign off, and sure enough, when it comes back from the reviewer, there's a long list of things that need to be done. But I read mine really carefully, and sometimes the reviewer sees it differently, and I get a long list of things anyway, right? So the IRB process is a separate process. Institutional review boards, it's about human subjects research. So non-human subjects research, we don't submit to the IRB. So that's one of the advantages of doing non-human subjects research, is we don't have to go through that step of the IRB process. But that you've got to be comfortable with different sources of data. If what you really want to do is interview a small group of people, then you can get through the IRB smoothly if you understand the rules. IRBs are problematic everywhere. Other questions? Enjoy your first year. Don't worry about dissertation. We will help you. Next year, in the spring, I will have a different conversation and say, okay, now's the time to make some decisions.
Thank you.